Hello, hello. I hope you're having a wonderful day. So, my husband and I have 5 kids, 2 of which are getting ready to go to college this fall, and another that's not far behind. And we've been talking about personal finance and budgeting a lot in our house lately, and I just wanted to jump on here and share 5 really important tips with you that I've been teaching them. So, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so number one, and the easiest thing on the list to do, is to open a high yield savings account. You'll typically earn 10 to 15% more in interest in a high yield savings account than you would in a traditional savings account. Currently, I'm using Ally, and that's at 3.75 annual percentage yield. Now, you may be thinking, what exactly does that mean? So I'll share an example with you using my daughter. So she is ecstatic because she has about $2,500 in her savings account, and every single month she makes enough in interest to pay for her Spotify premium account. So about $10. So definitely not a life-changing amount of money, but it's a really great tool to get young people to start to think about how to use their money to work for them. There's no risk. The interest rate does fluctuate a little bit, so that's something you'll want to keep an eye on. But ultimately, if you're going to have your money sitting in a savings account anyways, you'd be better off having it in a higher yield savings than just a traditional savings. Number 2 is zero-based budgeting. Now, the average person typically gets paid, they start spending their money. If they run out, they'll use their credit card, and they may just continue on like that. Sometimes they may sit down and see how much money they have left at the end of the month, but they're not really budgeting with intention. And so zero-based budgeting means that you're going to sit down at the beginning of the month, figure out how much income you expect to have coming in, and then you allocate every single dollar that you're earning to something, whether it be groceries, rent, savings, retirement, whatever that may be. So every dollar that comes in is going to go out towards something. Now, I like to keep a couple $100s in my checking account just because I don't want it to go down to zero. But zero-based budgeting is a great way to know where your dollars are going and make sure they're working for you instead of feeling like you're a hostage towards your financial situation. This can be done in 3 simple steps. Number 1, document. Number 2, categorize. And number 3, create. And so what that means is you're going to document the last at least 90 days of your expenses. And once you have those 3 months sitting in front of you, you can figure out what categories your expenses are in. So for example, you're going to have fixed costs like rent, cell phone, things like that are exactly the same every single month. You're going to have some expenses that are approximately the same but might change slightly, like groceries and utilities. And then you're going to have what is called sinking funds. Sinking funds are those expenses that you know you're going to have throughout the year, however, they dramatically change each month. So one example would be gifts. Now, a lot of times you might spend a good amount of money around the holidays or birthdays, but the rest of the year you might spend almost nothing on gifts. So what I recommend is creating a placeholder account. And so, for example, if you have an Ally account, you can create an account that's specifically for gifts. Let's say you spend $1,200 a year on gifts. You can take $100 every single month of your income and allocate that towards your gift expense. And so every single month that's going to be the same, and you don't have to come up with several $100s all at once if you have a lot of gifts. Tip number 3 is to have an emergency fund. Now, an emergency fund will be used for things like job loss, medical emergencies, home repair, auto repair, things that are true emergencies. Now, if you don't have anything in an emergency fund yet, I recommend just starting with $500 just to get into that routine of savings. Whether you're putting $50 or $100 per month into that account, whatever you can afford. But ideally, you want to eventually have at least 3 to 6 months in your emergency fund, just depending on how consistent your income sources are. Now you may be thinking, I can barely cover my current expenses. How am I supposed to save up for an emergency fund? And that brings me to tip number 4, which is to have some sort of side hustle or way to bring in additional income on the side. And it's really important that you pick something that you actually enjoy doing, especially if you're doing this in addition to another full-time job. Now I'm going to show you some tips in terms of finding a side hustle that may work for you. So let's go check it out. Okay, so I opened up ChatGPT and I'm going to put in a couple different inputs to see some different examples of ways to make money on the side. I am looking for a side hustle. Can you give me 10 examples? Okay, so it's giving us different examples: writing, tutoring, coaching, food delivery, things like that. Okay, I like kids. Can you give me examples with that in mind? And then it's going to say, or give some examples: babysitting, tutoring, music classes, things like that. I like animals. Can you give me more examples? And it's going to give you some different examples when it comes to animals. Let's do a couple more. I like working outside. Okay, so landscaping, gardening, things like that. I like working indoors. Okay, virtual tutoring, freelance. So we're starting to get some duplicates, but you can input different things that you're interested in, and it's going to give you some suggestions on how you can create some sort of side hustle using something that you're interested in. Last but not least, tip number 5, and the most important tip I'm going to talk about today, and that's a Roth IRA, which is a post-tax retirement account. And so what that means is that you'll earn income, you'll pay taxes on it, and then after you pay taxes on it, you're going to put it in an IRA. An IRA is a retirement account that is not linked to employment. So even if you change jobs, you can continue to contribute to this particular account. So let's go check out the Roth IRA calculator and you'll see why it's so important and valuable. All right, let's check it out. All right, so we are looking at the Roth IRA calculator. Let's say that the current balance is 0. The annual contribution limits change. Right now it's currently $6,500 a year. For annual investment return, it depends on what you're investing that money in. So for example, the S&P 500, they have an average return of about 9% over the last 20 years, but you're going to need to decide what risk level you want, type of accounts you want your money in. All right, so current age. So my daughter started contributing when she was in high school. So let's put 16, and then her retirement age, she wants to retire when she's 60. This accounts for inflation. So we're going to go ahead and calculate that. And by the time she retires at age 60, she'll have about $3 million in her Roth IRA. Now let's say she waited until she was 25, which is around when some kids will graduate college. So 25, just waiting that almost 10 years, it went from $3 million down to 1.4, a significant change. And then there's a lot of people that don't start contributing until they're more financially stable, so let's say 35. And then it's going to go down to only $500,000. So when it comes to a Roth IRA, you're going to get your maximum benefits starting as early as possible because of compound interest. So the earlier you can get this started, the better. And if you have any questions, let me know. If you're interested, please share your favorite tip that you learned today in the comments down below. Also, I'm going to be creating some in-depth workshops about the topics discussed today. So if you want to take a look in the show notes, I'll have a link for you to sign up so you'll be notified when those become available. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below, and have a great day. Bye!